Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Earth Power, Techniques of Natural Magic by Scott Cunningham. Narrated by Paul Brion. Preface. From the earliest years of my life, I have been attracted to nature in all its manifestations. The sight of a field of blooming wildflowers, the texture of a granite cliff, the untamable fury of a prairie thunderstorm. These are some of my most vivid childhood impressions. While my peers tossed around footballs or investigated the mysteries of engines and carburetors, I gazed into the night sky, attempting to comprehend its vastness. In contemplating that immensity, I felt awe and even fear. Questions regarding its blackness and the points of light within it led to other questions concerning the natural world I love. When I discovered that even science lacked answers for many of my most probing questions, I turned my life toward explaining and solving some of these natural mysteries. In my search for answers, I came across half-forgotten religions and magical systems born in far distant corners of the globe. Snippets of information came to light in ancient clay texts and magical treatises. When I found magic, I knew I was close, for here were practices that used the forces of nature. I poured all my attention into investigating the myriad forms of magic. I became acquainted with magicians and witches who furthered my learning with their arcane teachings. After many years, I finally realized that the ways of magic are revealed to those who work with the forces of nature. The secrets are written in meandering streams and drifting clouds. They are whispered by the roaring ocean and cooling breeze. They echo in caves and rocks and forests. Magic may well be the oldest extant science, yet it is also the most misunderstood practice in our world, even by some who profess to be magicians. Magic is the art of working with the forces of nature to bring about necessary changes. That is magic, pure and simple. The forces of nature, as they are expressed in the earth, air, fire, and water, predate our appearance on this planet. These forces could be thought of as spiritual ancestors who paved the way for our emergence from the prehistoric seas of creation. Attuning and working with these energies in magic not only lends you the power to effect dramatic changes in your life, it also allows you to sense your own place in the larger scheme of nature. Perhaps this is the most satisfying of the fruits reaped by natural magicians. My quest for knowledge led me to delve deeply into the magic of the earth. I have used the old ways to better my life as well as to deepen my understanding of its value and purpose. No less can be done by anyone who makes the attempt. The tools and powers lie around us waiting to be grasped and utilized. With their help, we can grow to our greatest potential. This isn't accomplished by conquering and subduing the earth. By listening to our planet's melodies and merging with them, we become true magicians, making our magic in harmony with all nature. Through natural magic, I have found the answers to many of my questions. This book, however, is not an explanation of natural magic. That would be useless. It is a guide to the practice itself. Anyone who uses it will discover their own answers. Introduction. This is a book of folk magic, the magic of the common people. As such, it is different from nearly every other published work on the subject. It is not concerned with inscribing symbols on waxen pentacles, nor with raising flashing swords in triple circles, nor with invoking terrible spirits in deserted caves. This book is concerned with simpler, less complex magic. These are the ways descended from the common folk, in the days when nearly everyone grew grain and vegetables, raised animals, spun and wove cloth, and made clothing. When everything one could desire was readily at hand, could be made, or was obtainable by trade. Men, women, and children worked from dawn to dusk in order to eat and maintain shelter. Everything in their world was handmade. So too was their religion and magic. These people were of the earth. They lived, breathed, and worked with it every day, and they left a legacy that is only now being rediscovered: natural magic. In this book are some of the ways the magic of nature has been practiced. These are spells involving the sea, rivers, and springs, the sun and moon, storms and rain, trees, and knots and mirrors. Here is a magic that anyone can perform with surprising results, for magic works. But this is more than a spell book, for much lies behind the words. The real mysteries of magic are those of nature. In practicing these spells, one touches nature, and in this work, anyone can discover the secrets. Nature, the earth, the universe are the great initiators. It is to these that we must look for help in opening our eyes to see what has been there all the time. Part 1. Basics. 1. Touching the earth. The moon glows mystically in the star-scattered sky as a lone figure moves down a deserted beach. The figure stops, bends, and grasps a gray stick washed up on the shore by the restless sea. Pushing the stick's blunt end into the wet sand, the figure sketches a symbol. A wave crashes. The figure moves back, and just as the oncoming water sweeps over the symbol, a gust of wind rises, blowing back the tightly wrapped scarf. A woman's face appears in the soft moonlight. She smiles, confident that the spell has worked, and sits listening to the crashing music of the sea. Why did the woman go to the ocean that night? Why did she draw a symbol in the sand? And how did these simple acts constitute magic? Natural magic, rather the magic of nature, is an uncomplicated, direct branch of the magical arts, one derived from eons of experimentation by peoples scattered over the globe. It is perhaps a response to the limitless power of nature, the power visible in the ever-changing seasons, the blossoming of a bud, the birth of young. The ways of nature magic are almost universally intended to work with the forces and energies of nature to bring about necessary changes. Though the techniques may seem to be oversimplified, even juvenile, they are effective. The woman described earlier performed an act of nature magic. She worked with the ocean, a timeless source of energy revered and worshipped for hundreds of thousands of years. To direct the energies of the sea, she used a symbol. Symbolism, the language of magic and the subconscious mind, is a sort of magical shorthand. Though the symbols and runes have powers in themselves, they also, in effect, direct energies to specific ends. In other words, they tell the magic what to do. So this woman went to the ocean on a moonlit night to tap into oceanic energies and drew a symbol on the sand to focus powers. When the wave washed the symbol away, it released its own powers, and thusly, the magic had begun. Though it may take several days for the fruits of the night's work to appear, they will undoubtedly do so. Time and experience will have proved this. Natural magic is direct and to the point. Despite what you may have heard, magic is nothing supernatural, unnatural, or even alien. It is in our own backyards, our homes, in the very essence of our beings. The forces of nature empower magic, not demons and imps, Satan, or fallen angels. One of the greatest mysteries of magic is that there are no mysteries. Instead, the mysteries are constantly revealed around us. The study of a simple rose blossom, blade of grass, veined leaf, or whistle of wind through leafy trees will reveal as much, if not more, concerning the true nature of magic than will 100 dusty Renaissance tomes. It is this magic that fills this book. While it may seem that some of the arts contained within this book fall outside of nature, mirror magic, for instance, it is simply an indication that nature is more than the good solid earth beneath our feet, or the arching rainbow dazzling an afternoon sky. Nature is the universe itself. Not only its powers, but also its manifestations. Some of these manifestations, such as mirrors, are artificially produced, but they are linked with and tap into the powers of nature by their symbolism. In our increasingly mechanized age, Many people are finding themselves isolated from the planet that sustains and supports their very lives. Forgotten is the very real dependency we have on the earth. Many people unconsciously sever their natural connections with the earth. As a result, a time of great turmoil exists today on an individual and global level. Earth magic can help to sort out, work through, and solve many of the minor crises and problems facing us as individuals today. True, earth magic is not a simple solution to the world's problems, but it can bring order into our lives, and that's a good start. In magical thought, the human body is the microcosm, small representation of the earth, which is the macrocosm. The earth is also the microcosm of the universe. In other words, we are pictures of the essence of the planet and, thusly, of the universe. As such, when we change ourselves, we change the earth and the universe. Magic is useful in effecting such changes in our lives, and therefore of the earth itself. These changes must be positive. No evil or negative magic is contained in this book, for enough negativity already exists in the world. The goal of all magic, occult paths, and mystical religions is the perfection of self. While this may not be accomplished in one lifetime, bettering ourselves is easily within our grasp. With this singular act, the earth becomes that much healthier. If you put into practice any of the magic contained in this book, whether drawing a heart in the sand, gazing into a mirror for a glimpse of the future, or tying a knot to help a troubled friend, keep in mind the higher aspects of your workings. You are improving the world and helping to heal it of the terrible ravages it has suffered at our hands. It is this which makes the practitioner of natural magic truly divine. 2. Magic spelled out. Magic is the use of the natural forces of nature to bring about needed changes. To help attract, arouse, and direct these energies, the magician makes use of tools. These can be costly items such as jewel-encrusted daggers and gleaming silver censers, or natural objects such as twigs and rocks. The tools necessary for this book are those of nature. Stones, trees, rivers, leaves, and plants make up the tool roster of nature magic, as well as a few store-bought items such as mirrors, candles, and cords. The manipulation of these tools, coupled with a driving need, is often enough to work the magic, to get some of the powers of nature rolling to bring about your needed change. Magic is deceptively simple and incredibly easy, a fact that should be kept in mind while listening. Obviously, planting a stone in the ground, holding a leaf, or drawing a picture of an automobile in and of themselves do nothing. It is when such actions are performed in an emotionally charged state that changes are wrought, and magic is truly done. To perform effective magic, 3 necessities must be present: the need, the emotion, and the knowledge. 3 necessities. The need is simple. You wake up one morning with a splitting headache you can't get rid of. Or you may find out you need $100 by the end of the month. A friend may be looking for a new love. In all cases, a need exists. Need should not be confused with desire. Desires are often passing. What one desires one morning may be pushed aside the next morning for something else. A desire is a whim. A need is a deeply felt, important, all-consuming state. The emotion, too, is clear. You may need a job, for instance, but if you are not emotionally involved in the seeking of employment, worried or anxious or fretting, all the spells in the world won't bring it to you. This is why it is sometimes fruitless to do spells for others, unless you can feel the same need that they feel emotionally. The knowledge constitutes the body of magical lore. In other words, a spell or ritual, or the basic theories behind them which allow you to make your own. A spell or ritual is simply one way of doing something. There are many ways, and many possible variations on each spell. The basic principles are easy, and will be discussed throughout this book. With these three necessities, anything can be accomplished, limited only by our experience and time. The former is the key. Only by performing magic will you know whether it works or not. Magic is somewhat similar to an unknown footbridge. At first, you'll step lightly on it, testing, seeing if it is safe. After a while, you'll stride over it confidently, knowing where to step and what to avoid. Many people approach magic with suspicion, ready to believe but unable to do so without proof. This is healthy. Belief is one thing, but certain knowledge is quite another. With a belief, there exists the possibility that it may not be true. Certain knowledge, however, is just that, the fruits of experience that allow you to accept something completely. Limitations, doubts, and false beliefs are crushed only through hard work and perseverance. Many people feel it is worth the effort, but this is purely a personal choice. Magical morality. Morality? In magic? Yes. Not in the sense of values and ethics, whether societal or personal, for such are ever-changing. Rather, morality in the spiritual sense. Magic should be worked for positive effects, never for negative effects. The manipulation of power to cause illness, pain, death, to destroy, steal, or otherwise harm another person's property, or to control other people is negative magic. The latter includes forcing someone to fall in love with you or someone else, forcing someone to have sex with you, breaking up a marriage or romance, changing another person's mind, or forcing a person to do something they don't want to do. Magic isn't an open field where egos and selfish urges can be gratified on a whim. There are dangers awaiting anyone who performs negative workings. Such magic might manifest, but the heavy penalties are never worth the effects. There is a magical principle that what you put into magic is exactly what you will receive. If you perform beneficial magic, you shall receive beneficence back. The negative magician, however, shall receive only negativity, and eventually it will destroy its wielder. In light of this principle, there seems to be no reason to perform negative magic, which is often termed black magic. Indeed, there isn't. Those who remain unconvinced and do so shall receive the fruits of their actions. It is, of course, the beneficial aspect of magic that makes it and its user divine. Negative magic has always had its adherents. There are those people who are seduced by evil, blinded by the temporary power it offers them, who can't see the light until it is too late. Some of the magic in this book is destructive, and this may cause some confusion. Most of us connect destruction with evil. The destruction of negativity itself, however, such as bad habits, obsessions, diseases, and so on, isn't negative. Since this harms none, but rather actually helps, it is safe to view it as positive magic. Magic for the self. Magic performed for yourself is not selfish, for it betters the world. Many people seem to think it is fine to cast a spell for a friend, but would never do anything for themselves. This is a regrettable idea, and should be exorcised as soon as possible. Only if you are healthy, happy, and financially sound can you help others, just as you must love yourself before you can expect others to love you. Part of the confusion comes from techniques used. Magic that aids you but harms another should be avoided, for it is not in keeping with magical morality. Usually, there is a way to improve yourself or your life without harming others, and this is the magic that should be utilized. Never feel greedy when performing magic for yourself, as long as it harms none. Magic for others. If you make your magical activities known, others will come to you and ask for spells to be performed. You will have to make a decision whether or not to do the magic for them, and this decision must be based upon a few factors. There is only one hard and fast rule when it comes to working magic for others. If it feels good, do it. If not, don't. People can be quite cagey when asking for magic to be performed. Often they'll color their explanations or openly lie to convince you to work. Even good friends may fail to see the truth in some matters, or might blow one incident out of proportion. Based on such evidence, you might well tackle a problem magically that doesn't even exist, thereby wasting your time and energy. People will also want you to accomplish something by magic that they could do themselves if they rolled up their sleeves and went to work. With all these unsaid thoughts, hidden truths, lies, and deception, what can you do? In magic, it is best to perform an act of divination to get some answers. Divination. Divination is a magical process whereby the unknown becomes known. It is performed with a host of tools: mirrors, clouds, tea leaves, coffee grounds, tarot cards, dust, wind. Nearly anything that can be used as an instrument of the subconscious or psychic mind. Another type of divination lets the powers of the universe determine the future through moving objects or symbols. To those of us who are not consciously, willfully psychic, divination allows us to see the future, if only for a few fleeting moments. Through the use of random patterns, reflections, or other focal points, psychic impulses, which are always being received by our subconscious mind, are allowed to trickle to the conscious mind, and thereby become known. Divination also entails the use of several objects that are then manipulated, either by the magician or by forces of nature themselves, to reveal the future. These include stones, flowers, and flames. Some forms of divination use both methods. Divination serves a very important role in magic, for it allows us to know all the circumstances surrounding a situation, especially one for which a friend wants you to work magic. Thusly, it enables us to make rational decisions whether or not to do the magic based on more complete information. Before any magical operation, generally speaking, divination should be done to ensure that the need is there, the emotion is sufficient, and that the knowledge is certain and correct. But divination isn't limited strictly to magical questions. It can be used as a guide to everyday problems that crop up in life. Most of the methods are short and, with practice, should give you results. Since there are many different methods of divination, it is best to experiment with several until you find one that works for you. Many methods are discussed in this book. One word of caution. Divination, when used to look into the future, outlines possible events. If you don't like what you see, take action to change your life before the future becomes the present. The power hand. Magic speaks of the power produced by the body, which is used in some spells and rituals. This is that part of the universal energy that maintains our bodies. Some of this power is released by the emotional state achieved while performing magic, and is sent along with the other energies you have raised to bring your need into manifestation. The power hand is the hand through which forces are released. This is the hand you write with. If you are ambidextrous and can use either hand, choose one hand and stick with it. This hand is used in magic to present, hold, throw, or otherwise perform in a ritualistic way a portion of a spell. It is best to use the hand you write with where called for in specific rituals, because this is a skilled hand and it is thought that energies are naturally released through it. Thus, if you drew a symbol representing your need with your power hand, the symbol itself would be infused with a bit of your energy. These have been the basics of magic. It has been said that magic was the first religion, and that if you lovingly utilize the forces of nature to cause beneficial change, you also become one with them. It is these powers that have been personified as gods and goddesses. Attuning with them is a spiritual experience, and is the basis of all true religion. 3. Techniques. The techniques required to perform natural magic are simple and easily learned. How adept you become at them rests solely on your willingness to practice. As with anything else, magic usually comes easier with practice. This chapter is made up of short, unconnected passages dealing with some of the things you will be called upon to do in this book. Putting all the instructions in one chapter saves constant repetition throughout the work. Any questions raised by this chapter will be answered later in the book, when actual rituals and spells are discussed. Symbolism. Since the subconscious mind works through symbols, it is important to cultivate the ability to interpret these symbols to decipher their meaning. No one but you really knows, what symbols mean to you. They are very personal things, dredged up from your subconscious mind, and others' interpretations can be quite wrong. A look at some traditional symbolism, however, could be helpful in showing just how symbolism works, and how the code can be unlocked using the tool of the mind, thought. If you lit a fire, waited until its flames were quenched, and stared at its coals, you might see the shape of a turtle. This is a symbol. To discover its meaning, you can listen to this chapter more closely, or look it up in books on symbolism, but that is the least trustworthy road to take. Instead, look at the symbol itself, a turtle. What immediately comes to mind? A slow-moving creature, perhaps aquatic, hard-shelled, able to retreat within to escape the outside world, and fertile. Many turtles lay hundreds of eggs. That's quite a lot of turtle associations. Your next task is to look at these associations in connection with a question you asked. If you asked why you couldn't seem to hold on to a love, perhaps your psychic mind is saying that you've been acting like a turtle, dull, slow-moving, always retreating from the world. Look only at those qualities of the symbol that relate to your question. Soon you will have an answer. If you didn't ask a question, determine possible future events the same way, by taking those associations from the symbol and applying them to your life. You will come up with an answer. While this process is sometimes difficult and requires time and work, it is one of the basic components of any divinatory act. Once you have the symbols or pictures, they must be interpreted. This section will hopefully serve as a guideline. Remember that these are suggested meanings for some commonly seen symbols. If you are in violent disagreement with any of them, stick to your own intuition. That's best of all. Acorn. Men, youth, strength. Airplane. Travel, new projects. Anchor. Voyage, rest. Arrow. News. Basket. Gift. Baby. New interests. Bees, honeycomb, hive. Industry, frugality, hard work. Bell. Celebrations, marriage. Bells ring in the new, but also ring out the old. The bell may be tolling hard times as well. Bird. Psychic powers, flight, movement, motion, good luck. Boat. Discoveries. Book. Wisdom. Broom. Cleanliness, femininity, domesticity, purification, healing, warfare with negativity. Butterfly. Frivolous things, non-essentials. Cage. Prison bars. Restriction, isolation, solitude. Cat. Wisdom, intellectualism, aloofness. Cauldron. Transformation, great change, women, new beginnings, endings. Clock. Death, time in any manifestation, change. Clouds. Headaches, mental problems, the mind, thoughts. Coffin. Surprise, it's not death. Instead, a long and boring but not serious illness. Cow. Money, prosperity. Cradle. Strangers. Crescent. freshness, newness, mother, women.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?